Well, it's a very warm welcome back to second half independent off-tube studio commentary of the Carabao Cup quarter-final, a West London derby being played between Brentford and Chelsea. It is goalless at the start of the second half. It seems like the other two quarter-finals being played this evening have taken all the goals for themselves, with Liverpool trailing 3-1 at home to Leicester City and Spurs leading 2-1 against West Ham. There's been one change for Chelsea, no changes for Brentford, so their 11 is Alvaro Fernandez in goal. Back three of Mads Sorensen, Pontus, Jansson and Ethan Pinnock. Two wide men are Sergi Canos and Rico Henry. The three in midfield, Matthias Jansson, Vitaly Janelt and Shandon Baptiste, with Johan Visser and Brian Mbuemo as the two up front. For Chelsea, Kepa Arrizabalaga is in goal. In fact, I'll just finish that in a second because Chelsea are breaking out. Good opportunity this now for Alonso just to keep the ball alive down the left-hand side. Gets that ball over towards Malang Sarr, who's joined the attack for Chelsea as well. Looking for options. Alonso gets over towards the left-hand side. I can confirm actually there have been two changes for Chelsea at half-time. Well, that I stopped myself from doing the full 11 there for the visitors, but they're trying to get that ball into the penalty area. It's Vale under pressure, having to go back towards the halfway line. So the full Chelsea 11, it is Kepa Arrizabalaga in goal. The back three of Cesar Azpilicueta, Trevor Chalobah and Malang Sarr. The four in midfield are Xavier Simons, Jorginho, who comes on to replace Mateo Kovacic, Saul and Marcos Alonso. The three up front are Harvey Vale, Ross Barkley and Christian Pulisic, who comes on to replace Jude Jacobson-Bell. So that is the Chelsea 11 for this second half. Double change from Thomas Tuchel at the start of the second half, just to try and perhaps make that possession that Chelsea have, that lion's share that Chelsea had in the first half, just make it a little bit more productive. As it is Jorginho wants to avoid the referee there with his pass, but Vale gets the ball out towards Alonso, being blocked here by Sergi Canos. Alonso then holds the ball up, rolls it back towards Jorginho. His cross just flicked on by Vale, but it's headed away by Henry. And that's good play there from Baptiste. Gets away from three players. Great run this from Shandon Baptiste. Crosses the halfway line, but he needs some support. And here is Matthias Jensen arriving now. He's been stopped here by Malang Sarr. But he finds a pass back towards Baptiste, who then back heels it to Visser. Visser then lifts across. In fact, I'm not even sure if that wasn't a shot there from Johan Visser. I'd like to give him the benefit of the doubt and say that he was trying to pick out his teammate, but just got it all wrong. But full marks there to Shandon Baptiste. He was tricked twice inside his own half before he got the ball all the way to the Chelsea penalty area, and then he was involved in a move to try and set up Visser. But yeah, I'm looking at that replay. I think it was an attempted cross from Visser. He just got it all wrong, just lifted it a little bit too high. Stood a little bit too close to goal, never really had the curl to try and get that ball back. But now pressure here from Brentford, trying to win that ball back as high up the field after Chelsea take a short goal kick. But Ross Barkley is actually fouled there by Vitaly Janelt. That will be a free kick. Janelt, the only Brentford player booked in the first half. Harvey Vale was the only player to see yellow in the first half for Chelsea. And Brentford now looking to try and win the ball back here, but Alonso does well to get that ball away from Janelt. He plays it straight in towards Jensen, though, and then Janelt fires a ball down the middle here. If only Mbuemo could have controlled that first time, he may have had a chance to get away from Azpilicueta. Ball now back with Kepa and Jorginho to Azpilicueta. So Chelsea started the game with a few younger players, a few squad players, but they brought on two regulars. I suppose Pulisic is someone who doesn't get too many starts for Chelsea, but certainly Jorginho is one of the first on the team sheet for Thomas Tuchel. So there just loses the ball. It's going to be a free kick to Brentford now down their left-hand side. The other two games have now restarted in the second half as well. Leicester game is just a few minutes behind us. The Spurs West Ham game about a minute behind us. No changes in the scores so far. Trading 3-1 at home to Leicester, and Spurs leading 2-1 at home to West Ham. Looking to join Arsenal, who beat Sunderland last night. There's the ball in towards Pulisic there from Saul is just stopped by Pontus Jansson. His clearance up towards the halfway line, taken down by Trevor Chalobah. This is what Brentford need to avoid, is to just have this sort of sitting back mentality, although it seemed to work for long periods in the first half. But you just feel now with Jorginho on the field, Chelsea perhaps potentially able to get those additional passes just to unlock this Brentford defence, and with a bit more of a experienced striker in Pulisic now playing through the middle as well. Just makes it a little bit more difficult here for Brentford if they choose to sit back the whole time. But Chelsea now pushing forward with Alonso. Leaves the ball here for Pulisic. He goes back towards Jorginho. Now it's Azpilicueta. His cross headed away by Pontus Jansson. One captain heading away another's cross, and now the ball headed back towards the halfway line. And Kepa now playing it out towards Malang Sarr. It's with Chalobah to Azpilicueta, being closed down here by Baptiste. Azpilicueta gets the ball away from him, and now Jorginho back towards his own goalkeeper. Kepa under pressure there from Mbeumo, but at least with a couple of their forwards trying to press high up the field. But by and large, Chelsea are able to get into comfortable possession in midfield, really. It's only when they start getting closer to the penalty area the Bees really are pressing in numbers. Janelt's got to be careful there, sliding in, trying to win the ball. It wasn't a foul in the end, but I think even Andre Mariner just stopped and warned Janelt there during play, whilst play was continuing there, because he is on a yellow card already. Pulisic now just gets the ball over towards Alonso. Space here for Alonso now down the left-hand side. He's got Saul ahead of him, and that's where the ball has gone. Lifted into Saul, but just a bit too much pace on that pass, and Ethan Pinnock is able to shepherd that one out for a goal kick. 51 minutes gone. It's still goalless here between Brentford and Chelsea. Alvaro Fernandez now looking to restart play. Thought about he does play it short in the end. I mean, there were 3 Chelsea players at the edge of the box, but it's Fernandez to Pinnock. Now Jansson to Canos. The ball deflects out. Camera now focusing on Ivan Toney. We'll be looking to get on the field at some point here for Brentford this evening. Thomas Frank, for the time being, not making any changes. To his side. They weathered a real storm of possession from Chelsea in the first half. They actually had a couple of decent chances. It's a header from Visser, and the strike from a tight angle from Rico Henry as Sergi Canos gives a free kick away there. He was trying to shepherd the ball away from Marcus Alonso, and a bit of a wry smile there from Canos, as if to say they didn't see anything wrong with that. But the referee Andre Mariner just having a quick look and explaining to the Brentford man that it was just a little bit too much contact there on Alonso. Free kick's being taken short. So with Azpilicueta on the right-hand side. Got Pulisic just ahead of him. That's where the ball has gone. Pulisic over on the right now finds Simons. Simons trying to get away here from Henry. But has to roll it back towards Trevor Chalobah. Jorginho to Azpilicueta. Jorginho again. Sarr over towards Alonso. Alonso with space down the left, puts a cross in. It just gets away, and it might be screaming towards goal. It was Sorensen that got the final touch. Very nearly an own goal there for Chelsea, but it's Azpilicueta now who goes back towards the edge of the area, and the strike coming in the end. It wasn't a particularly good effort from Barkley. It's on target, but it rolls towards Alvaro Fernandez. Just see from this replay as this cross comes in from the left. It deflects off the back of Sorensen, and then Rico Henry, who was running back towards the far post, actually runs that ball into the far post himself. And it was well saved by Fernandez just before the ball was about to strike the post. The keeper just gets a hand to it and palms it away. But that certainly looked very close there. So Chelsea just had a couple of men over inside the penalty area, and it looks as though Brentford were under a bit of pressure, but Sorensen in the end with a bit of a slice clearance puts the ball out for a throw to Chelsea. It's still inside the Brentford half. And so we could see Thomas Frank screaming at his players there to try and push a bit further forward. It's a very difficult balance here for Brentford in terms of pushing high enough the field to try and make it difficult for Chelsea and actually win the ball off them, but then also not be pushing too high so they can still have some sort of defence if they were to lose the ball or if they can't get the ball off Chelsea. And I think Thomas Frank there was just trying to get a message out to his players. For the time being, it's as you were for the majority of the first half, whereby Chelsea are seeing so much more of the ball, and a lot of it in midfield here without too much getting into the penalty area. They're trying again down the left-hand side now with Jorginho. Towards the halfway line now, Sarr to Chalobah. Azpilicueta being closed down here by Baptiste. He still finds Jorginho. Now it's an early ball in towards Vale, who tries to hold it up for Pulisic. It's played away, and Mbeumo now for Brentford, back towards Jansson. And then a clearance, or it was intended to be a good ball here from Canos, just a bit too much on it for Mbeumo to chase down, and Chalobah will get there first. Goes back to Kepa. Azpilicueta inside to Malang Sarr. Chelsea starting again in midfield here with Saul, finds Marcus Alonso. And an early ball from Alonso this time, looking for Barkley. Barkley does slide in and get a touch on it, but doesn't get enough on it to really change the direction of the pass, and it goes straight into the hands of Fernandez. But that's better from Chelsea. Far too many times in this game they've had a chance to get the ball in early, but they've held it up, waiting for more players to get in and around the penalty area. On that occasion, Alonso just wanted to pick out one teammate in the form of Ross Barkley. So Barkley, although he got a touch on it, he was almost losing his balance by the time he got near the ball. So he wasn't able to change the direction of the cross. It was easy for Fernandez in the end, but for the time being, Chelsea back in possession again with Azpilicueta. That's Barkley. Picks up. All about playing a long ball. Does play a long ball now to try and pick out Saul, who'd got forward this time. But Alvaro Fernandez is out to make a comfortable save. See a slightly frustrated look there from Thomas Tuchel. Looks like everything was going swimmingly for Chelsea at one point. So just looking at their last 5 games, just the one win in their last 5 games, and that was that 3-2 win against Leeds, which needed a last-minute penalty to get that result. Other than that, it was that 3-2 defeat to West Ham at the beginning of December. And that draw with Zenit, when of course they knew that their destiny was already sealed in the Champions League anyway. Then that win against Leeds, that was followed by that 1-1 draw against Everton, and then that 0-0 draw away at Wolves last weekend. So it's not been a great December for Thomas Tuchel's side. As I say, they've still got, after this evening, they've still got 2 games to play in the month of December, away to Aston Villa in the early evening kickoff on Boxing Day, and then on the 29th they play at home to Brighton, and just a small matter of Liverpool at home on the 2nd of January before they play Chesterfield in a FA Cup match on the 8th of January. But getting back to the action here, it's Brentford on the attack now down the left-hand side with Rico Henry. Gets across into the penalty area. It's a low cross. It's dealt with by Azpilicueta. He puts it out for a corner kick. So Brentford, for a limited amount of possession in these first 12 minutes of the second half, they have now got themselves a set piece. The delivery here from Matthias Jansson is going to be all important. Had 4 corner kicks in the game so far, and the home side have had 3 of them. They capitalise on this one as Jansson comes across to take the corner. Plenty of activity in front of Kepa inside that 6-yard box. It's a short corner here between Janelt and Jansson. Jansson then goes back to Baptiste, who lifts the ball into the penalty area. Kepa comes out, punches that to the edge of the area. Loose ball drops here to Mbeumo, who's tangled with Ross Barkley, and Barkley gives the free kick away. Slightly frustrated look there from Ross Barkley as he was trying to get that ball away from Brian Mbeumo. Just he's asked the referee twice. He's just gone, how there, Ross Barkley? You can't believe it that free kick's been given against him. Let's just have a look. He's tried to get the ball there, but he has actually just clipped Brian Mbeumo as well. It's not too much in that, but in that sort of situation at the edge of the area, I think the referee just thought as though there was a bit too much contact there on Mbeumo. So this will be a free kick to Brentford now. It's certainly within shooting range. It's over on the right-hand side, so it really would suit the left footer in terms of shooting towards goal. But options to cross this as well. Chelsea trying to organise themselves in terms of a wall. Interestingly enough, first the only left-footed striker of the ball I could think of here in this Brentford team with free kicks would be Vitaly Janelt. Well, he stepped away from it. It's going to be Matthias Jansson to take the free kick. So it looks like it's going to be a cross here from the Danish international. And it is lifted in by Jansson, and it's headed up in the air by Simmons. And there was a push on him there as well from Pontus Jansson. That's what the referee felt there. Jansson, just like Barkley a moment before him, asking the question of why. And Andre Mariner very happy to give a quick summation of why he gave that free kick. Bit of a shame for Brentford, really. There was still a bit of work for Chelsea to do, I think, in terms of clearing that loose ball. So here is a quick clearance now from Kepa up towards the halfway line. Jorginho. So finds Alonso down the left-hand side. So through the middle now, in towards Barkley. Barkley under a bit of pressure there from Mads Bech Sorensen. Holds the ball up, rolls it back here towards Saul. Now back to Alonso. Alonso to Barkley. Barkley looks up. Hasn't got too many options here in terms of cross. He's playing it square to Jorginho. He's about 30 yards out now, Jorginho. Back towards Trevor Chalobah. Space for Barkley now on the left. Takes on Matthias Jansson. Jansson does well, though, gets his body in the way and takes the ball off Ross Barkley. Now a ball played over the top here, and Mbuemo's chasing this one along with Azpilicueta, and the goalkeeper eventually makes the save, comes out and just about deals with that header back there from Cesar Azpilicueta. So you have to give credit to the Brentford keeper, Fernandez. That certainly was one of the criticisms that Brentford fans had of him early on. Apart from his some lack of certainty sometimes when it came to decision making, it was the fact that his distribution wasn't as good as David Raya, who's really almost as good as a midfielder sometimes in the way he was able to quickly start moves for Brentford. And that was certainly much better there from Fernandez in trying to get that move started for the Bees. Here is Simmons now, plays the ball in. He had the ball played into him from Azpilicueta, and just as he was starting his run down the right-hand side looking for a cross, the offside flag is up. That puts pay to that move. Brentford getting ready to make their first change, and it's going to be Ivan Toney, last season's championship goal scorer, record goal scorer in terms of championship goals. Albeit Fulham's Alexander Mitrovic looks on course to get close to that record or even beat it this season. But Chelsea are certainly preparing the big guns as well. They're going to be making a double change, using the fact that you can make 5 changes, with this being an EFL Cup game. And it looks like it's going to be Reece James and Mason Mount coming on here for the visitors. So potentially Simmons and Vale getting the hook. So the longer this game goes on, the more of Chelsea's 11 from the Premier League from their Premier League 11 are now getting on the field as well, and just making it, just trying to get those odds even further in Chelsea's favour. But here come the visitors now down the left-hand side. Alonso having to go back towards Malang Sarr, still trying to press as high up the field as they can. Changing the other 2 scores. Liverpool still trailing 3-1 at home to Leicester City. Spurs still leading 2-1 against West Ham. Here it's 62 minutes gone at the Brentford Community Stadium, and it is Brentford 0, Chelsea 0. It's Thomas Tuchel's Chelsea now on the attack down the left with Saul. Runs straight into Pinnock and then into Canos. Canos just does enough to get the ball away, but he still can't dispossess the man, and now it's with Barkley. Barkley at the edge of the area here for Chelsea. 3 Brentford players surround him. He goes back towards Jorginho. Jorginho looks up. He's got Azpilicueta on the right-hand side. Azpilicueta just been marked there by Baptiste, having to go back towards Jorginho. Just isn't enough space here for Chelsea for the time being to try and get a ball into the box. They're going to try again down the left here now with Alonso. He plays it back towards Sarr. Sarr now to Jorginho. With Azpilicueta, his ball gets a deflection of Baptiste. It still reaches Kovacic. It still reaches Pulisic, I should say, but he couldn't quite turn towards goal. It's back with Alonso now on the left-hand side. Tries to put that ball onto his left foot. Then he's got an overlap here from Saul, who plays a very high cross into the penalty area. It bounces away from everybody. It's still kept alive here, though, by Simmons, but now that's cleared away by Rico Henry. Drops here to Jorginho. Alonso cross towards Saul. To Malang Sarr, and there's options for Sarr left and right here, but once again Brentford really have congested their half of the field. Doesn't make for particularly exciting viewing, but it just means that Chelsea aren't really being pressured into losing the ball, but at the same time they're not really able to do anything with it once they get anywhere near the penalty area. Azpilicueta now plays in Simons. Simons with the cross, deflected, partially headed away by Sorensen before Baptiste goes back towards Rico Henry. Baptiste then gets away from Azpilicueta, gets away from Simons as well, runs straight into Barkley, and so there's going to be a free kick to Brentford after all of that. Take your pick really as to which Chelsea player actually committed the telling foul, but there were 2 or 3 that were trying to get a bite to Shandon Baptiste there, as Matthias Jansson has sat down on the ground for Brentford. This is going to be a double change for the Bees. Johan Visser is going to be going off to be replaced by Ivan Toney, and it looks as though Christian Norgard is going to be coming on to replace who is now an injured it looks like an injured Matthias Jansson. Ivan Toney back on the field. Was missing for the game away at Leeds because of a positive COVID result. In the game against Watford, still wasn't able to come back for that one either. So if we Delighted to be on the field this evening. Just waiting for confirmation that Jansson's gone off as well. In the meantime, I can tell you that Mason Mount is on the field here for Chelsea. He is on for Harvey Vale. That would be pretty much a straight swap. Makes sense for that. And the other one is Xavier Simmons, who is off as well now. And he is off to be replaced by Reece James. So Chelsea making a couple of solid changes there, bringing off promising young players to be replaced by their regular Premier League starters here in James and Mount. Not just regular Premier League starters, but now becoming England regulars as well, no less. Vitaly Janelt is on the field, but he is on for... Vitaly Janelt is off the field, but he is off with Christian Norgard replacing him. So that is a bit of a surprise. It looked to me as though Jansson was in a bit of trouble there, but he's back on his feet. He's able to play on. And Vitaly Janelt, maybe because he had attempted to trip a Chelsea man when he's already on a yellow card, that might have just worried Thomas Frank. So Janelt is off. Norgard is on to replace him. Both managers do have the luxury of being able to make 5 substitutions this evening, with this being an EFL Cup game. So Chelsea still have one more change, having already made 4. Thomas Frank still has 3 substitutions to work with. And here come Brentford now, with the ball played early down the right-hand side for Sergi Canos, who volleys that towards the box. And he was doing that from an offside position, so nothing doing for Brentford on that occasion. Free kick to Chelsea now, 66 minutes gone. It's still goalless here at the Brentford Community Stadium. Still 3-1 down at home to Leicester. So still 2-1 up against West Ham. Jorginho now here for Chelsea. Early ball this time, looking for the run of Pulisic, but that ball gets away from him. Mount's trying to close down Alvaro Fernandez, but he's still able to get this ball to Sorensen. So now finding Baptiste. He's had a couple of good ones this evening. That pass was just a bit overhit though from Sorensen. Baptiste then tries to run into Azpilicueta. Well, he's run the ball into Azpilicueta, I should say. Doesn't quite pay off though. The Brentford man had the final touch. Reece James with his first touch of the game, albeit from a throw. Now it's with Saul over to the left-hand side now for Alonso. Nutmegs Sergi Canos, and he's going to get a booking here, Sergi Canos, as he brings down Marcus Alonso. Alonso sarcastically counting to about 5 with his fingers there as he's down on the ground, as if to suggest that might be the 5th time that Canos has found him. I don't think he's been 5 times, but it's certainly been at least 2 or 3. Canos perhaps couldn't accept that he just pinned quite easily nutmeg there, really. It's almost a knee-jerk reaction there from the Bees' number 7. He saw that ball go through his legs and he immediately stuck out his left arm to try and stop Alonso getting past him. A free kick to Chelsea in a very good position. This is within shooting range for Reece James. There's enough of an angle to try and curl this towards goal, and there's plenty of players to choose from inside the penalty area as well. But Reece James ready to take this free kick. So the ball is whipped in towards the near post, punched up in the air by Fernandez. That was going straight at him, but he chose not to catch it. And then Ross Barkley with an effort, he slices that one. Does it get a slight deflection? I think it does. Left-footed strike from Barkley, gets a slight nick off a Brentford defender, and it is out for a corner kick. But that's a free kick from Reece James, was flying straight at Alvaro Fernandez at chest height, right down the middle, really. Shouldn't really be punching that, although I suppose safety first, but you would like your goalkeeper to save that one, really, to catch that one. Barkley's across to take the corner kick for Chelsea now. See it pushing and shoving inside the box. Andre Marin just asking for a bit of order. Barkley whips that one in towards the near post, swept away by Norgard. That's a poor corner from Ross Barkley. With the Brentford goalkeeper being as suspect as he is on crosses, whip that ball into the edge, to the middle of the 6-yard box, make him make a save, make him come out, make him have that moment of hesitancy there between him and his defenders. But Chelsea, in the meantime, make a bit of a mess of that loose ball. Jorginho trying a diagonal ball to play in Mason Mount. He misses his teammate by a good few yards, and that's out for a throw to Brentford now down the right-hand side. Still close to their own box though, so Ethan Pinnock is either going to have to throw this one quickly to his goalkeeper to send it long, or perhaps he's going to try and send it long himself. Does send it long, it's over the head of Baptiste, it drops straight to Azpilicueta. Tony and Alonso fighting to try and keep this ball in play. It's out for a Brentford throw. Ivan Toney takes it himself, throws it out early to try and get it in towards Mbuemo, but Shalabar is there. He gets it back towards Kepa. Good clearance here from Kepa, over the head of Pulisic, over the head of Jansson. And Alvaro Fernandez just strides out from his penalty area. Actually rolls the ball back into his own box, just to try and kill any kind of Chelsea threat here. We've got 20 minutes to play. Brentford are preparing their third substitution. It's the Iranian international Saman Ghoddos, ready to come on. We'll see him in just a moment. Just trying to think who he would be coming on for. Would it be for Baptiste, perhaps? Or maybe with Jansson carrying a bit of a knock as well. But you'd imagine it'd be one of those two. It's either going to be Jansson or Baptiste. Potentially, I think I have seen him come on once or twice for a wide player, although I don't think he's going to be taking Canos off to bring on Ghoddos. So I would imagine it's probably going to be Baptiste or Jansson. Meantime, it's a free kick to Brentford now, round about the halfway line. He's just doing his final stretches and getting word there might have been a fifth goal at Anfield. Is that going to be the goal that kills the game in favour of Leicester City, or Liverpool back in it at 3-2? We'll confirm that in just a moment as Jansson now takes the free kick. It's over the head of Azpilicueta, but Tony does well. He just gets there ahead of Reece James, keeps it in play, goes back to Rico Henry. His cross is too high for Sergi Canos, but it should still be kept in play here by Matthias Jansson. Janssen's ball into the edge of the 6-yard box, headed away by Malang Sarr, and then another header there from Mason Mount. Gets that ball into Pulisic, but he plays it straight into the path of Pontus Jansson, who goes back towards Alvaro Fernandez. Liverpool have got a second goal back against Leicester City, and it's Diogo Jota. He's been in some excellent goal-scoring form this season, the Portuguese forward. He certainly shut me up, because when I first saw him move to Liverpool from Wolves, I thought he's going to be one of these Shaqiri-type players who's going to have a sort of a cameo every 5 or 6 games for half an hour, but other than that we won't see too much of him. But far from it. He stepped in, had a bit of a slow start, in fairness, but since then he's used his chance with Roberto Firmino out injured. Scored an absolute hatful of goals for Liverpool this season, and he certainly put them back in the game there. They're about 3 minutes behind us, so it's 68 minutes gone there at Anfield. It's now Liverpool 2, Leicester City 3. Liverpool perhaps staging a late comeback in that game. Spurs still lead 2-1 against West Ham in the other quarter-final this evening. All the teams vying to join Arsenal. We've got past Sunderland yesterday. The semi-finals to be played in January, and the final at the end of February. Here come Chelsea now down the left with Marcus Alonso. Back to Jorginho. Now it's with Ross Barkley. Under a bit of pressure over towards Azpilicueta. Options here for Azpilicueta. Finds Reece James. James at the edge of the area now. Back towards Malang Sarr. Sarr now with options. One of them is Christian Pulisic. He's got Alonso on the overlap. Alonso's cross is straight into the back of Sergi Canos. That bounces out for a throw. Right by the corner flag, but it won't be a corner. It's just a throw to Chelsea here on the left, but not before this change for Brentford. It's going to be a double change, in fact. Rico Henry is going to go off here. And based on the board, it's actually Sam Ghoddos is coming on for him. I'm not sure if Ghoddos is going to play as the left winger, the left wing back, the left of the 4 there for Brentford. We'll wait and see if that's where he really is going to position himself. There's also a second change being ready as well, but I think for the time being it's just that one change. Frank Onyeka is getting ready to come on for the Bees as well. Working central midfielder, perhaps not quite as attack-minded as Xander Baptiste, and he is coming on for Baptiste now. Who's, managers and players alike will know that it is going to go straight to penalties if it's a draw. Does just change the thinking of some managers as well. I think, although Chelsea have been a little bit off form, knowing that Thomas Tuchel's side is always trophy hunting in terms of trying to get as many competitions under their belt as they can, offered the chance for Brentford to take on Chelsea in a penalty shootout. I think, would Thomas Frank take it at kick-off, or would he always say, no, we've still got a chance in 90 minutes? Difficult to say, really. Brentford, of course, not having to play last weekend. Their game against Manchester United, and then the game last weekend as well, against Southampton, I should say, was cancelled because of the COVID pandemic. Mentioned Chelsea's next 2 games. Brentford play away at Brighton in the late kick-off on Boxing Day. They play at home to Manchester City next Wednesday. They're at home to Aston Villa on the 2nd of January, before they play away at Port Vale in the 3rd round of the FA Cup. That's how the next few games for Brentford look. And then after the FA Cup weekend, just a small matter of Liverpool away on the 15th of January. Well, it's a throw to Brentford down the right-hand side, and it's into the Chelsea half. Still quite a long way away from the box. Strong challenge there on Sergi Canos from Marcus Alonso. And now Canos returning the favour asking a referee for a yellow card for his opponent. I don't think that was ever going to be a yellow card, in all fairness. I didn't think there was enough from Alonso there for the referee to think about a booking. But Alonso now has to get into position here as Brentford have this free kick. It's over on the right here with Jansson. Jansson with players to aim for. I was going to say in the box, but no one's in the box with Chelsea playing quite a high line. So we're going to have to try and judge this here, the Bees, as Jensen's ball in towards the edge of the 6-yard box, and Sorensen trying to get underneath it. The ball just eludes him though, and it's eventually put out for a throw down the right, with Chelsea looking to try and restart play. Reece James now just holds on to the ball momentarily. Looked like a good ball in this from Jensen. Just a little bit too much height on that one as Sorensen tried to get underneath it. But Chelsea doing more now to try and get their 11 on the field to resemble a Premier League 11, as Ross Barkley is off and N'Golo Kante is on to replace him. Kante with just under 15 minutes to make an impact in this game. And with his all-round midfield credentials, both defence and attack, really is a box-to-box player. Kante, he's proved that he's got a lot more to his game than just being that sort of archetypal defensive midfielder that we associate with him initially at Leicester City. Straight away he's getting involved in the attack here with James and Kante swapping passes, and then it's Kante's ball outside of the boot in towards Pulisic. Pulisic does keep it in play but doesn't do too well, and then the Godos's clearance isn't particularly good either. It goes straight to Azpilicueta. Chelsea then win the ball back, but I think Kante as it's actually Saul that's committed the foul that referee Andre Mariner didn't like there. Not only that, the Spaniard has also picked up a yellow card. It's not quite been the game. I mentioned at kickoff that Saul is one of these players that needed a good game this evening. He's been involved. It's not like he's anonymous, but I suppose in a game where Chelsea are having this much attacking possession and he's not yet really been involved in too much of an attacking move, must be a bit of a worry for him. Plenty of competition for places at Stamford Bridge. Got to take your chance when you get it. But now Brentford pushing here with Ivan Toney. Trying to get away here from Azpilicueta, and he does. Puts a cross in, which is sliced up in the air by Chalobah, and it drops right underneath the crossbar because there was so much height on it. Kepa had plenty of time to get underneath it. And there's no referee in the world that would say that was a deliberate back pass, especially seeing as it seems to me in the last few years it's become harder and harder to get to that decision. Certainly remember in the early days of the no passing back to the keeper rule being introduced, where the keeper couldn't pick the ball up. It caused mayhem for goalkeepers who used that as their safety net. It caused all sorts of panic, and the indirect free kick as a result of the goalkeeper picking up a back pass was actually quite a common thing. But these days, even when it seems like the keeper has picked up a back pass, it seems like it has to be really, really blatant before the officials will give it. Meanwhile, the ball is played back towards the edge of the Brentford penalty area, and Fernandez has to rush out here to deal with that one. He is able to do so, clears it out for a throw. Taken now by Alonso to Jorginho. So now back to the Italian. Jorginho just looking up and finding Kante in a bit of space. He spins away from Matthias Jensen, then just clips it. Oh, I was going to say clips a great ball into Mason Mount. Just a little bit too much on that one for Mount, but he was unmarked getting into the penalty area. That pass from Kante had been just a little bit more precise, then Mason Mount would be in a very good position inside the penalty area. But it's now Alvaro Fernandez, long clearance from the Brentford keeper. Bouncing ball that was in theory intended there for Toney, but he turns around and gives a quick appraisal there of that one, just points to his keeper and says, I need that one to be a little bit higher. It's because if that same ball had a bit more height on it, then Toney potentially could have still worked to keep it in play. As the rain starts to come down now over the Brentford Community Stadium. It's been a pretty sort of cold and drizzly day right across the country today. It's supposed to be warming up a little bit over the next few days before potentially a bit of a cold snap over Christmas for certain parts of the country. So for the time being, Brentford now looking to try and get rid of this ball, but Kante with a bit of space here for Chelsea finds Azpilicueta, and there is Reece James that gets the ball away from Godos. Kante does really well just to dance away from two Brentford players. Reece James's ball into the box. It's Pontus Jansson with the own goal. The Brentford captain has slid in and has found the top corner with a very strange attempt to try and clear that. But Chelsea lead with around 9 minutes to play before we get into injury time. The Brentford captain, Pontus Jansson, puts the ball into his own net. It's a disappointing goal to concede, really, when you consider that Brentford have done so well to limit the Chelsea attacks. But Reece James just had a bit too much space down the right-hand side. You've got to give credit to Kante for his work. But Pontus Jansson, I'm not sure why he's done what he's done. There's nobody on his back. He's not compelled to deal with that ball immediately. He could actually almost take a touch and then just stab it out for a corner. But he's tried to give it the big heave-ho, and it's got a bit of a bounce on it. Perhaps it's come off his shin rather than off his foot. But even so, the Bees captain will be very disappointed with that one. It's talking slightly tongue-in-cheek. It's actually a really good finish from Jansson. If that was at the other end, you'd say it was a striker's finish from the Brentford centre-back. But it's an own goal that puts Chelsea in front here with not too much time to play. And it's a disappointing own goal as well from Jansson's point of view. Just wonder, with the changes that Thomas Frank has made, with Norgard fresh in midfield, Onyeka fresh in midfield, Brentford now making one more attacking change using the 5 changes they can have. And it looks like he's basically forgetting about defensive midfield now, where Thomas Frank, as he's taken off Matthias Jensen, and Finnish striker Marcus Forss is on now for these last few minutes. So with Canos and Godos as the 2 wide men, they could almost play as forwards, as wingers, really. And Tony and Mbeumo and Forss, Brentford really are going for all-out attack. But the question is, are they actually going to get enough possession to try and get these players further forward? Because for the time being, it is actually Chelsea looking to try and get another attack started down the right-hand side. It would be a real shame for Brentford, as I say. It'd be nice for them to say they got to the EFL Cup semi-finals 2 years in a row. Even more impressive considering that they did it as a championship club last season. But for the time being, it's looking like Chelsea taking that late lead in this game may well be enough here, as Brentford trying to get an attack started down the right-hand side with Sergi Canos. He's got Mbeumo over ahead of him. He stayed on side. And he's got Tony and Forss in the box, but he's robbed of the ball quite easily, really, by Saul. Now it's Jorginho moving the ball out for Chelsea to N'Golo Kante over the halfway line now for Azpilicueta down the right-hand side. He's got Mount, he's got Pulisic at the edge of the area. Just plays it square, though, to Kante. He then clips the ball into the box looking for Mason Mount, but there is Onyeka to win that ball back for Brentford. He goes down, he wasn't fouled. A strike from Alonso is charged down. Sorensen clears that, but only as far as Jorginho. And now Azpilicueta towards Mason Mount. Kante now back to Azpilicueta down the right-hand side. This is once again just seeing a lot. The problem for Brentford, I think, in the second half is that they didn't really step up from what they did in the first. The last 10 minutes of the first half looked better for the Bees, and I just wonder if perhaps Thomas Frank missed a bit of a trick by not trying to press out Chelsea, not trying to just enforce a little bit more of Brentford style early on in the second half, because now it's too late. With 7 minutes to play, unless it's a quick counter-attacking move or a moment of individual skill, it's hard to see how Brentford as a team are suddenly going to go into an attack mode when they really have been sat back for pretty much all of this game. We've got to throw on down the left here with Sorensen. So no options to go forward. It's forced to go back towards Alvaro Fernandez. Fernandez just squared to Pontus Jansson for its own goal scorer. Chance here potentially, but Brentford messing about with it a bit inside their own half, and now Godos's clearance loops up in the air. Was played through towards Mason Mount, and Mount breaks into the penalty area. Alvaro Fernandez comes out. Oh, has he brought the man down? Andre Mariner says yes, and that's a penalty to Chelsea. And it's Christian Pulisic who's brought down. Fernandez is saying that he tried to get the ball, but, well, I'm not sure. We'll have to wait and see what the referee is saying about this. But as far as Andre Mariner is concerned, he's not even wanting to discuss this with the Brentford keeper, Fernandez. He's sending him away. And this is going to be game, set and match for Chelsea here. Yes, it's clever play from Pulisic. He knows that if he gets a touch on that ball and then the keeper takes him out, I mean, it's impossible for Fernandez to stop himself once he's in that position, but that's why keepers have to be able to judge that moment Because if the striker can get a touch on the ball before the keeper gets near the ball, then it's always going to be a penalty. And Chelsea's penalty kick taker has come off the bench in the second half in the form of Jorginho. He takes this short run up and he is ready. Referee Andre Mariner is ready. Jorginho steps up and he sends Alvaro Fernandez the wrong way. And with just 4 minutes on the clock now, Chelsea lead 2-0 at the Brentford Community Stadium. And it does look as though the side from Stamford Bridge will be advancing through to the semi-finals. Brentford just undone with a bit of trickery towards the end of this game. And it is now 2-0 to Chelsea. Disappointment for Brentford, but in all fairness, Chelsea have been doing more in terms of trying to get this result in their favour right from the very start. And Jorginho over to that travelling Chelsea support, which are in the corner of the pitch, but behind the goal that Chelsea have been attacking in this second half. With that second goal, really, it's all over as far as the game is concerned. Brentford just not doing enough in the second half, and it's been a very good performance. Say maybe very good's a bit strong to say, but it has been an organised performance from Chelsea. Sometimes against teams that sit back can be drawn into a bit of a slugfest, but Chelsea have kept the pace up. At times they've slowed things down, but they've always had a lot of the ball, and certainly with the substitutions in the second half, Kante's made a difference, Jorginho's made a difference. Just the presence of Pulisic and of Mason Mount has certainly made a difference. And Reece James, albeit he's not actually seen too much of the ball down that right-hand side, but again, it's another international that can come off the bench just to strengthen the team, and it's certainly all paid dividends for Chelsea now. Not long to go in the game, and it is Brentford 0, Chelsea 2. Just looking across at the other two games, no changes. It's still Liverpool 2, Leicester City 3. That game was about 3 minutes behind ours. Leicester still leading 3-2 at Anfield, and at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, Spurs still leading 2-1 against West Ham. That game's pretty much at the same time as ours on 86 minutes. As the ball now in Brentford possession, it's with Pontus Jansson. Just has to negotiate past Mason Mount, who's just in front of him. He finds Saman Ghoddos, but Ghoddos' ball towards Tony is a little bit too long. One is easily picked up there by Reece James. Clearance back towards the halfway line. Chelsea loses straight away, but then Brentford loses straight away, and it's Azpilicueta who can play it back now towards Kepa. It's a clearance, it's a bouncing ball that almost gets through towards Christian Pulisic. Brentford do well here to keep possession with Ghoddos, and now Tony. Tony lifts the ball over the top. It's a really good ball as well to find Marcus Forss. Oh, and he just loses his balance there, the Finnish striker. He's pointing towards the spot like he thinks it was obvious that there was some contact in the penalty area there, but I'm not so sure that there was enough to warrant a penalty. It's a great ball from Ivan Toney to play in Marcus Forss. Chalobah puts a hand on Marcus Forss. Now, is putting a hand on a professional sportsman who's running at full pace, is that enough to bring him down? I don't think so. And even our fourth official there, Graham Scott, doing a bit of a mimic of Chalobah there, saying, look, to Thomas Frank, saying, look, that kind of touch on the shoulder or touch on the back is not enough to bring a man down. And certainly Dele Alli had more contact on him in the Spurs Liverpool game on Sunday. There was no penalty given there. So I think probably the right decision not to think about giving a spot kick for that one. Great play there from Jorginho with two Brentford players closing him in now. He dances away from Norgard, and then he finds Kante. Kante in towards Mount. The strike coming in from the left-hand side. It goes just wide though. And out for a goal kick to the Bees. Just a minute of regulation play to go here at the Brentford Community Stadium. Remind you that Brentford's next game is away to Brighton. It's the late kick-off on Boxing Day. Chelsea's next game away to Aston Villa. That is the early evening kick-off on Boxing Day. Of course, fingers crossed, COVID permitting. For the time being, it seems as though the league is quite confident they're going to fulfil their fixtures. But as I say, that could all be very different by Sunday morning once we get reports of another outbreak at another club. Hopefully that won't happen, but as I say, you can't rule it out. It's been happening across the country, of course, not just across football. So for the time being, it's Chelsea just trying to see out these last few minutes. I can't imagine there'll be too much injury time actually at the end of this game. Graham Scott's already in position there to lift the board. And we should be seeing just how much time there is to play. Chelsea once again trying to get forward down the left here with Alonso. He then finds Mason Mount towards Malang Sarr. He's played more as a midfielder this evening, Malang Sarr, on that left-hand side, joining Marcus Alonso. Hasn't had too much work in defence. Certainly seen Azpilicueta. Azpilicueta, if anything, Azpilicueta has actually stayed as the winger on the right-hand side since Reece James has come on, and James has got into the back three, which I was a bit surprised about. That's certainly, looking at how Chelsea were setting up just now when they're in possession, that's exactly what's happened. We are into injury time now at the end of this game. Didn't get a shot of our fourth official, unfortunately, just to have the confirmation of the additional time. Now I can confirm it is 3 minutes have been added to this second half. Chelsea looking to increase their lead even further with a cross coming in from the left. Just gets away from N'Golo Kante. Godos gets there just ahead of Azpilicueta, but then Azpilicueta runs the ball straight into Sam Godos, and so Brentford are able to clear their lines now with Sorensen. His ball up to the halfway line, headed on by Marcus Forss, but no one in a red and white Brentford shirt stood behind him, so that goes straight through towards Kepa. Thinking of a man of the match for this evening, I think that Alonso's been good down the left. I think that Cesar Azpilicueta, I think, was probably the one I would go for. He's had a good game in defence, a good game going forward. And certainly led that Chelsea team, particularly in the first half when there was a bit more of a mixture of young and old. Certainly the team finishing for Chelsea this evening is almost a team that you would see in a Premier League game, really, with I suppose Kepa doesn't get the starts now ahead of Mendy, but then Azpilicueta, Chalobah, Sarr, James, Jorginho, Kante, Saul, Alonso, Pulisic and Mount. It's a very, very strong team that's finishing for Chelsea this evening. Here is Pontus Jansson now to Sorensen, back to Jansson. Pinnock towards Frank Onyeka. Just wondering how Thomas Frank will describe the game. I think you'll probably admit that his side may be just a little bit too defensive at times, but then I suppose had it not been for Pontus Jansson's own goal, then it could have still been 0-0 now, and we'll be talking about Brentford doing well to hold Chelsea off and take their game to penalties. So it's always fine margins at this level. So overall, I think Brentford haven't really done enough to trouble Chelsea, particularly in the second half. When in the first half, at one stage, it looked as though they were just starting to push back at Chelsea a little bit more towards the end of the first half. Start of the second, Chelsea started strongly. They have never really sort of deviated from that. You see Azpilicueta now taking this throw for Chelsea. Seconds to go now. Andre Mariner could be ending the game at any time, as Forss complaining he might have been clipped there by Reece James. So the referee not too concerned about that. So Andre Mariner, it's still Chelsea in possession down the right-hand side. Andre Mariner looks at his watch and he calls time on the game, as it was a good effort from Brentford in terms of trying to stifle Chelsea, but really from the very start of this game, it's only really been Chelsea that have been looking to try and get forward and actually take the lead. And it's all over then at the Brentford Community Stadium, with Brentford losing by 2-0 against Chelsea. From myself, Paul Szczerbakowicz, thank you very much. Do have a great Christmas, and we'll see you very soon.